Yeah. Well, that's good. That's great.
Well, again, welcome to the show. We're glad that you could keep us in the loop and still join us tonight. And so we'll just, I guess, we'll just hop right into the to the episode. So
Yeah.
I've
I mean,
got your
yeah.
like little bio up on here, and I guess we'll just start off with how did you get started in the whole resale business?
By accident. It started out as a hobby. Yeah. It was a hobby. eBay was kinda new. It was in its first decade, and I was always looking for little side hustles, see how I could make money. So I would go to auctions and sales and whatnot with my friends, and we would buy things that we could keep but then buy things, "Oh, I wonder if that's worth anything," things nobody really wanted, I can get it cheap. So yeah, when I ended up divorced at 40 and I was like a stay-at-home mom, so didn't really have any job training. I didn't go to college. And I was like, okay, what can I hang my hat on? Like, well, I kind of know a little bit about this. And so I just decided to see if I could make it my job. And it worked out. So that was about 18, 19 years ago.
And you do that full time now.
I do it full time. Yeah. Yeah. I actually have two
That's
internet
amazing.
stores right now yeah, but I do like it. I do like it quite a bit. I meet a lot of really
You have to come
interesting
across
people
some
and
pretty
I buy and
interesting
sell a
finds
lot of
though
really weird things.
along the way. Do you ever find something and say, I got to put that back?
I don't know. I'm not much intimidated by, I'm game to buy and sell anything. I've sold some really weird stuff over the years. I mean, just today, like I mentioned before the show, I'm in Maine right now, and my parents have to take their garbage and recycling to the dump whenever they got to go. And there is this room in the building, and we call it the free room for lack of anything better to say. But if somebody has something that they don't want any longer, they haven't found a good home for it, they don't really want to throw it away, still has life left in it, they'll put it into the free room. And it's one of my favorite places to go because it's free. And you never know what you're going to find. So I walk in there today, and there was a bag. There were things everywhere, but on the floor was a bag of books. But it wasn't just any bag. It was a U.S. mail canvas bag with a stamp date on it of 1966. So here's this 60-year-old bag, I guess it is at this point. This old canvas mail bag, and it's worth 135 bucks, and it was free. So it's like, oh, I'll take that, sure. But you just never know what you're going to find in that room. So now I got to find room for it in my carry-on.
So I'm guessing that you must go to a lot of auctions also.
I love auctions. Yeah, auctions are like my superpower. I would go to auctions every single day if I could. That's the best part of what I do other than depositing the money. The in-between stuff, the storing it, the cleaning it, the fixing it, the listing it, all of that, that's the stuff nobody ever wants to do. But the auctions are fun.
Who's your favorite auctioneer that you've been able to meet?
Oh boy. Well, if you dipped into my books at all, they all have code names because I really can't afford to not be welcome at auctions. So I don't use anybody's real name when I tell the stories about what goes on behind the scenes. So if you go by the code names, I would have to say I call him Sir Grumples, and he's kind of somebody that people have. He has angry outbursts, but they're harmless. He'll get really riled up and really angry about something. It's common for him to just spout off and storm off in the middle of trying to sell something, and then one of his other auctioneers has to step in and take his place. And we're used to it. This is just what he does. But there's just something really endearing about that guy. I don't know what it is. He's old and cranky. He has no
We know a
patience
few
for
grumpy
people who
people that we
take.
love to death.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's the challenge of it all, I guess. There was at some point what I do caught the interest of a TV producer, and she wanted me to try to get some footage of me at an auction doing my thing. And it's like the chapters that I write in my book, I could write an entire chapter based on 5 minutes of an 8-day auction or an 8-hour auction. Something that happened in 5 minutes, I can write a whole story around. So she's asking me to go to this all day event and somehow capture that 5 minutes while I'm still trying to do what I do. So my best friend, I called her up. I'm like, you have to come. I need you to come videotape me." She doesn't know what she's doing either. We're working with iPhones. We don't have a clue what yeah. But this was a 5-day auction, and it belonged to two gentlemen. They were partners, and they had a massive, massive, massive mid-century modern collection. And we could not miss it. We had to go to every single. I've spent more money at those 5 sales than I usually spend in like a year. So they were really good sales, but I couldn't just walk in there and have her start videotaping me because he's grumpy. I did not want him to throw us out. What are you doing? Spout out. So I approached him before the auction and I said, "So, how would you feel?" And this was the first time I had to let an auctioneer in on who I am, the fact that I go to sales. And I mean, everybody knows who buys and sells. We all know each other. That was no secret. But that I wrote
Right.
books about it and that he had appeared in my chapters before, I didn't tell him he was Sir Grumples, but I still had to come clean a little bit and say, "Look, okay, I wrote these books, and this TV producer found me, and she wants us to get video footage. Do you care if we videotape some of the auction?" And he looks up, and his face went real bright. He's like, "Sure!" All of a sudden, he was all for it. This idea of being on TV. And I had told him, I said, "But here's the deal. I want you to be yourself. Don't, just act like we're not even doing anything." I said, "Because we love you when you have your little angry fits. It's kind of endearing." I said, "So don't try to be somebody else." And so he was good. He was behaved all throughout the auction. And then what happened, he blew up at the very end when we quit taping. And he was storming around the room saying, "Whoever's videotaping me, I hope you got what you wanted." But it was too late. It's like, "But wait, can you back up? Can we do it again?"
That's great. So again, back to like finding, you got to find, oh, I think we lost her. It must be bad service up there in Maine. Because
Yeah.
usually a cell phone will do pretty good, and that
Yeah.
was an iPhone. So an iPhone will usually,
We'll just give her a second. That's pretty funny though to have somebody that you like who doesn't do that? Like you got to make a situation fun and
oh yeah,
just
especially,
funny.
especially if you're,
Yeah. It's
well, for
great.
those who pay attention and watch, tonight I am drinking zero. Again,
All right.
we don't get sponsorship money, so we just keep promoting people for free. Yeah, Powerade Zero because
Oh.
I had 4 beers for lunch, and I think that's enough for one day.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I didn't
And
wanna.
I am drinking like I'm right there with you, A&W root beer. But I'm trying not to drink A&W root beer while we're on air so that
So, burpity burp.
Yeah, exactly. "Oh, no, Kira, are you wait I need."
I just switched us. I was I
Oh,
was looking at the wrong way again. It drives me crazy. I know it probably doesn't bother anybody else, but when I look and I'm watching, I wanna be looking at you and not, like, out the door. Ah,
yes. That's funny.
I hope you realize that we're disconnected.
I'm sure she does because she wouldn't see us, right?
Right.
So I wonder if she's, like,
I think that's the way it works.
running in the house to try to troubleshoot again.
Well, I guess I can do my Tango Tech for today.
You got tech today?
I do. I'm trying to remember all of the. I need notepads up here, or like little sticky notes
Little
along the
stickies.
bottom there.
Well, we
Or
have
j
them.
I know, I
We have
just
a million of
I know,
them.
you bought a
We just
million
use
of 'em,
a
yeah.
we just
But
use a stick
I need, like, to print, like, a label at the bottom of my monitor that says, "Don't forget Tango Tech,
tech for today.
drink of the day, jar of absurdity."
Yeah,
But
all the things.
yeah, all of our little segments that, when we're doing live shows, we seem to forget. But anyway, so for Tango Tech for today, I'm going to just talk about this, webcam that I had to get. I switched computers out, so the computer that was down here for the show, I took upstairs in the house on the 3rd floor and then brought down my main computer, which is a workhorse and really needed out here for the printing shop and all the other stuff. But it didn't have a webcam. So I had to get a webcam, and we're gonna get the same one for Angela so she doesn't look like she's sitting on a.
I'm sitting on
Well,
a
it's not
really
bad. Like, when you sit back, though, it actually looks
No, it
better.
looks like I know, but then
I
I feel like I have to yell really loud to get it to
Oh, yeah, because the
the
microphone doesn't go
microphone
any
so
further.
far. Yeah.
Nothing works the way we want it here. But anyways, I got this Nexigo webcam that just sits on top of the monitor, and it's 4K, and I absolutely love it. And we have Kira back.
I do not know what
I'll come back
happened.
to Tango Tech in a little bit.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad that you're quick on the fly. I'm like, okay, he's going to be creative. I know it 'cause I don't know what happened, but I'm sure he can fill in some space here.
We're like, "Does she know we're gone?"
It just went completely blank. And it's like, it said something like reconnected. I'm like, wait, what? So I don't know. I am in Maine. It is very rural. I'm attempting to try inside. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But hello, I'm back.
That's great. Thank you for coming back.
Man, this
And we
is
have these
not
little
my best
segments in the
moment.
show that we do. So we do like a section that's Tango Tech, and I talk about whatever new tech thing I've fallen in love with. Then we do our drink of the day. So whatever cocktail we're drinking, we share it with everybody. And sometimes we make crazy things, and sometiades today it's just Powerade Zero.
I would be a really boring person to talk to about drinks because I don't drink. So I'd be here with the water. So
Well, that
yeah,
You know what? And that's okay.
yeah,
Today is one of those days anyway.
absolutely. But
looking like it.
but we're glad you got back to us again, so we can
Yeah,
continue.
so let's continue your story. So you were telling us about the last thing we heard was that you, Mr. Grumbles there,
Sir Grumple.
he actually did give you his whole like realm, but it was after you had actually hit the pause button.
Oh yeah, we were like packed up and I was paying my bill. It was towards the end. And yeah, he just decided that that was when he was going to lose it. I'm like, really? So, I mean, I had nothing good to send her. I really didn't. It was a big ask. But I got the guys who helped the auctioneer in the book. I call them the henchmen. They're kind of like the little slaves of the operation. They get, I don't know what they get paid, probably not enough, but the henchmen that belong to Sir Grumples I simply adore. And so I figured that if I let him in on why I was there and filming all that other stuff, that I also had to let them in on it. Mostly because if they decided to read my book, there was a character in one of the auctions that was one of Sir Grumple's henchmen, and I called him Sassy Pants. And he also deserved that name because he also had his own little temper tantrums. And he could be quite snarky. But I kind of felt like I had to talk to he was not there. I'd not seen Sassy Pants, and I can't tell you how long. So I went up to the other henchman. I was just like, okay, if you read my book, I just want you to know none of you were Sassy Pants. I love you all. I would, you're not Sassy Pants. I don't want anybody to be offended. And the one guy looks at me and he says, I can be sassy. And one of the other men there is his partner, and his partner looks at him and he goes, no, you can't. He says, I can too. And they got into this big debate about who could be sassy. And I was just like, oh my gosh, they want to be the sassy pants in my book. So, but yeah,
They were fighting for the spot of the characters in your
fighting
book.
for it. Yes. And then the third henchman cornered me later on by himself and he said, so am I in the book? I was like, well, not directly, no, but you are a henchman. So there's a kind of an umbrella reference.
Oh,
know?
I'd totally be haunting and be like, "Who am I in the book?
Right. Right.
I wanna know which character I am."
I have to know. Yeah. So it's
That's
great
awesome.
fun.
See, I would love to write a book about, like, my other business, but there'd be no way for me to hide the characters. Like, I could change the names all I want, but there'd be no way to hide the characters because based on what happens, they would all know who was doing what.
Well, and I'm not as sly as I think I am, to be honest. I did have a woman come up to me one time and ask me, "Hey, did you write Fabric Wars?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure," because authors want to be recognized. I'm like, "Yeah, I sure did." And she says, "I know who every single person is in that book." And I was like, "Oh, so okay,
Kidding, I
thanks."
didn't write that book.
Right. Bye bye.
How long did it take you to write the book?
There's 2 right now. So the first one took a year, and then it was probably a year and a half between release of the first one and release of the second one. The first one was nice because I've been doing this for 20 years, so I could pull it started out being a lot about fabric, but not all about fabric because sometimes I think I'm going in search of fabric and they don't have any. One of my online stores, I only sell vintage fabric and salvage textiles, that sort of thing. So a lot of times it starts out on a hunt for that, but I don't find that. So there's all kinds of other stuff in there besides that. But because it was my Etsy store, the fabric store, where the customers asked me to write the full length stories, it became Fabric Wars And so I was able to pull from 20 years of doing auctions for my best fabric finds. Oh, these were my best fabric sales. Well, now book two comes along and now I'm starting from scratch because I've already used them all up. So it took me a little bit longer.
You and my husband could talk for hours of fabric. Every time he starts a new project, he's like, "I gotta go buy more fabric." It's like, "You have 2 closets full of fabric. What color don't you have?" He's like, "Well, I need this certain shade of brown to go with this." I was like, "You can't use the khaki brown?" He's, "No, that doesn't match." I was
It's the
like,
wrong
"How
shade.
much?"
I have an entire garage full. Like I built my own. I built wall to floor to ceiling shelving, 2x4 shelving that fits those totes, and it's just all the way around this gigantic 2-car garage. Nothing but plastic totes, and a lot of them are
Alright,
fabric.
I'm going to edit that part out of the show. I don't we're out here. We have a bar in our barn, and that's
Mhm.
part of it is sectioned off to do the podcast shows, and I don't want any more of my space used up.
Yeah, for fabric. And they have these wonderful surplus stores out here in Maine. It's a chain. It's kind of like, I don't know if you guys have big lots, odd lots, that sort of thing. It's that idea. Ollie's. It's like a salvage store, but it's gigantic. And they have a fabric department. And so there have been times that I have gone in there and I think we brought home 70 yards of fabric
Oh
in
my
the
goodness.
my husband carried half and I carried the other half, and they were our personal items, and I did get that under the seat in front of me so they couldn't see anything. But I was up here, we're remodeling our house, and I make my own roller shades out of fabric. I get the old wooden tension poles that
Mm.
maybe an old map came on, something like
Mhm.
that. But I make my own roller shades with my own fabric to go with the room because
Oh, cool.
I don't like curtains a whole lot. We live in the country. Nobody can really look in, whatever. But if the sun's going this way or that way, you want to have a shade to pull down. Anyway, I had it in my brain. I need to get 5 yards of fabric to make 2 roller shades for this front room. And so I have it in my mind. I'm going to this store. It's called Martin's. I'm going to go there and I'm going to find the fabric that I have to have. And I'm in the store and all of a sudden it occurred to me that a week before I came up here, I went to a gigantic estate fabric sale and spent $2,000 on I can't even tell you how many hundreds and hundreds of yards of fabric, some of it which I haven't even laid eyes on yet. It's still boxed up in my garage because I didn't get to play before I got on a plane. I'm like, what are you doing? You don't need fabric. I did not buy any. I was good.
It's almost like it almost becomes like an addiction, you know what I mean? You just see fabric for sale.
My
"Okay, we're
mother.
going."
Right? Well, and this one I was a little bit worried about going to also because I do guest speaking for quilting guilds. I mean, who buys fabric? Quilting guilds. But the funny thing is that quilting guilds do not buy fabric. They already have too much fabric. And when I go to quilting guilds to speak, they are trying to sell me their fabric, which I have done. I have bought from them. But buying from the living is entirely different than buying from the dead. The dead do not care how much you pay for their fabric. The living will shoot you the side eye if you're nowhere near the ballpark of what they think their fabric is worth. So the subtitle for my third book, and I know it's really super tacky, but I keep going back to it. I just have to do it. The subtitle for the second book is "The Dead or the Better." It just is, and, and there's a lot of stories that emphasize that. But this auction that I went to, I knew that I was going to see quilting guild people there. I people that had heard me speak, that had bought my books, that knew what I do for a living, and I almost didn't go because of that. I was almost intimidated by that. It's like, I don't want these people to not like me because if they're there, they have to appreciate the fact that they're not going to get much because I'm a little bit ruthless. But there were, I think, 3 people there that I recognized, and they recognized me. They were very friendly. We talked, we chatted. We actually took turns. They would lean over and they'd say, "I really want that box of fabric." And I'd be like, "Okay, that's cool. I really want the rest of the table." "Okay, that's cool. All right, we're good." And then we wouldn't bid on each other against each other.
Give and take there.
I think the auctioneer appreciated that because that's how he makes his money when people bid each other up. And so we
Yeah.
kind of developed a strategy.
And you must have a certain amount of people that are like, "Oh, here she comes. She's gonna buy a lot of stuff from us." And then other people's like, "Here she comes. She's gonna make us give everything away."
A lot of times what I hear when I show up is, "Man, she's here." So it's not the auctioneers like me. They know that I'm good for a solid bid. But yeah, there's a lot of quilting people that don't like me a whole lot. But that's okay. That's
Well, it sounds like
okay.
you're making the whole thing fun.
I had an elderly woman, and this is in the first book. The chapter's called Thieving Thelma. No, I don't think her name was Thelma, but it
It fit.
worked really well. But she was probably in her 80s. and she looked like the typical grandmotherly type with the skirt and the support hose and the orthopedic shoes and the updo that they get done once a week at the salon. And she was not winning any fabric. And so when everybody left the backyard to go inside the house to bid on things inside the house, there was still one very, very large plastic tote of fabric still in the backyard. And when we all came back outside, it was gone. She actually told a young man there that she had bought it and if he would please load it into her car. And they found it in the back seat of her car. And she went through the 5 like people go through the 5 stages of grief. She went through the 5 stages of thievery from being she denied it initially. It was not me. You know what I bought. I did not take the fabric. And then it went into um probably not going to get all 5 stages. But she went through the denial. She went through the accusations because she pointed at me and blamed it on me for buying all the fabric. She went through the anger when she finally realized that she was caught and they threw her out. She stood on the other side of the gate screaming, "You cannot do this to me." I mean, it was insane. And everybody just kept looking at me like it was my fault. Like, doing my job, man. It's what I do.
I think I just had a spider on me.
Hey, I've been swatting mosquitoes. You're good. Bugs in Maine are like none other. Yeah.
Okay, what's a Grammy whammy?
Okay.
Just throw
So
that out there.
now, and see, you're going to want to talk to your husband about this too, because if he's big time into fabric, he's going to relate to this. Now, whenever you buy textiles, okay, let's just put it out there. Everybody's house smells like something, right? Whether we like it or not, it all smells like something. Maybe you cook with garlic, maybe you have pets, maybe there's smokers in the house. Everybody smells like something. And textiles really, really absorb odors. So when you're dealing with buying textiles from estates, sometimes it comes out of attics. Sometimes it comes out of, it always has a smell and it's
Right.
not always something what other people want to smell. So I had to come up with a way to remove the odor from the fabric. Otherwise, I was going to be getting negative reviews and returns and whatever. And it's too time consuming to think you're going to bring fabric home and wash it and dry it and iron it and trim it and do all this other jazz just to remove a smell. And sometimes that doesn't even work. I mean, did you ever have like sweaty clothes or something where you washed it, you dried it and it still stunk?
Yep.
It happens that way with fabric a lot, especially if you're dealing with smoke or mustiness or moldiness, things like that. So I invented my own product to treat it. And it's all natural. There are no dyes, there are no chemicals, there are no fragrances. It works with all natural ingredients because an odor is a germ. And so if you can kill the germ that's causing the odor goes away. So it's not like a cover up. It actually kills the germ that's causing that odor.
Well,
But the
cool.
beauty of it is that it works in the dryer. If what you are trying to deodorize does not need washed, you can just throw it into the dryer. You can put a whole load in there if you want to. I mean, you ever leave your clothes in the washer for 2 days and then you got to rewash
Yes.
it? Okay. If you threw a Grammy Whammy in the dryer with that load of wet clothes, you wouldn't have to do that. It kills the germ that causes the odor and it's gone. So it comes out and
Wow.
it smells like absolutely nothing. So what's nice about it, I don't have to wash anything. I can do a load in 30 minutes, sanitize a load in 30 minutes, and I'm good to go. So I have it at home by the jugs. I have 4 jugs that I'm constantly making up like 2-gallon jugs because I have 4 scents that I use right now. And I use the word scent carefully, but there's peppermint, lemon, lavender, and tea tree because all 4 of those are natural essences that have natural germ fighting ability for
Good.
odors.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a natural product, but that's what you kind of smell when you first open it. You kind of get that whiff of that, but then when it's done in the dryer, it smells like nothing.
Right.
Then it
Mhm.
doesn't come back. It's just gone. So
Now
yeah,
is
so I
that
sell
is
them.
it liquid or powder form?
It
What do
is a
you
liquid. It is
it's a
a
liquid,
clear
okay.
liquid. And the way that I sell them in my shop, and it is a cotton rag that is inside of like a sealed bag, like how you seal meat, like
Mhm.
Mhm.
what
Yep,
am I thinking? A food saver
like
type
a food
idea.
saver bag, yep.
Right. And then there's like a half a cup of this liquid in there. And so that rag, when you get it out, you just dump the whole thing in the dryer with all the liquid. And
Mhm.
so when you turn the dryer on, it creates a steam. And that steam is how it kills.
Oh, okay.
It's yes,
Okay.
exactly. And it's how the dry cleaners do it. The dry cleaners, they work by steam.
Yeah.
But dry cleaners don't really operate on a principle of removing odors. It's more a principle of cleaning the item. Whereas this isn't going to clean the item for you, but if you just went out to your favorite hibachi steakhouse and you come home and you smell like grease and garlic and soy sauce on your new favorite wool coat, you can throw that wool coat in the dryer with a Grammy Whammy for 30
That
minutes and it's
smells like it
gone.
smelled good to me.
Yeah, right? So that's what the Grammy Whammy is. But yeah,
I
it has
like it.
saved me
Great. I
so
love
much work.
that.
Yeah.
I always picture when we got talking about the whole thing about, like, washers and dryers, I just pictured in my head, I just pictured, like, you had, like, a wall of washers and dryers, like a
Oh, I
laundromat.
wish. No. I do I have 2 dryers though, because I do have a dryer outside in the garage. Because I made another office in the garage. My husband wants to know why I have 2 offices and he has none, but that's because I work from home and he does not. So, 2 offices I get. I have 2 shops, I have 2 offices, but I do have a dryer inside and out. Yeah. It's I don't know, it's been a game changer, and the quilters love them too because they can freshen up a quilt without having to wash it.
Well, yeah, because I mean, we love quilts, and Steven's made a bunch of them, but, I know what you're saying, though. Sometimes you go to, like, a craft fair or something, and you buy one of these quilts, and then you get it home, and no matter how many times you wash it, though, it smells like it came out of somebody's attic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, you just keep trying, 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 and I mean, I guess I think after a while, it dissipates, but it takes a long time for it to, like, acclimate to your home.
It really does, and how I mean, you don't really wanna keep washing quilts either, you know?
No.
You wanna keep that crisp integrity of them.
Mm.
And plus, once you wash a quilt that has never been washed and you put it in the dryer, it shrinks and the stitches don't look the same as they did when it was unwashed. So it's yeah, it's nice to be able to put a dry thing into the dryer and have it de-deodorized. It
Smart.
does not work on mothballs, though. I'm going to throw that out there. Mothballs have no business near any dryer. I tried it once. Something with the mothballs and the heat, it gassed me out of my house. I
Really?
thought it was bad. I was like, okay, no mothballs. Do not use our mothballs.
Hi, everybody. This is Tango. Hope you're enjoying the show. We certainly enjoy doing that. We're, again, we ask every episode, and all we ask is that we made you smile or chuckle or brighten your day to any degree. Give us a shout out. Follow us on your favorite social media. We're pretty much everywhere. You could see old podcast episodes. Take a look at our new radio station. During the show, we have a live number you could call in. We do all sorts of sponsorships. This episode is being brought to you by CMY Awards and Apparel Inc. out in our shopping center. We do appreciate the following and the likes. They definitely help us move up the ranks, and we certainly appreciate it. Go to Tango Talks Live or go to patreon.com/Tango Talk 66 and become a sponsor. We greatly appreciate that. But yeah, back to the show.
Wow. I think in every industry, we've all learned our little secrets like that and things like, "Okay, we won't do that again." We've
Oh,
had it here with
yeah.
printers, like, "Okay, do not run the envelopes through that laser printer because it's gonna melt all the plastic off of them." So,
Right.
yeah, we've
So I give my pitch on these things at the quilting guilds, and I says, okay, if you're talking about mothballs, see me after. It's too much to explain how to deal with mothballs. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we can talk later.
what's your meaning behind the, Dodd Oddity? Did I say that right?
Yeah, that's the name of my Etsy shop, and
Oh, I
we
gotta write that
called
down.
yep, my grandfather, we called him Dodd, and he was the king of repurpose, recycle, reuse. And repurpose, recycle, reuse are part of my logo for Dodd my Etsy shop. But he would repurpose and reuse. He'd bring anything home if he thought it had value or merit. So when I opened my Etsy shop, it just came to pass. I'm like, you never really know what I'm going to bring home either, quite honestly. And even though it's mostly fabric in my Etsy shop, I also repurpose and salvage old textiles like quilts that have seen better days. If I take that quilt home and I cut it apart, there are people out there that will buy a section of that quilt to make something new.
Mm.
So I've done that with blankets, I've done that with quilts, I've done that with all kinds of textiles. I sell lots of 1 pound bags of things like lace scraps or upholstery fabric scraps or, things like that. I mean,
Um,
I have a relationship with Airstream that I'm not supposed to really talk about a whole lot, but they give me all of their leftover fabric. And I have found that the best way to sell their pieces, parts of fabric, is to cut it up into small craft size pieces and sell them by the 1 pound bag. So
I'm a little nervous to give Steven your Etsy shop because I think they'll just be Etsy packages. Not that I should complain because there'll probably be just as many Etsy packages showing up as my Prime packages show up.
yeah, you got to balance it out. You got to give and take. My husband, I shop for clothes I don't need when I'm bored, and he shops for Corvettes and vacations. So he hasn't pulled the trigger yet on those expensive things, but it just kind of reminds me that one of these days he's going to be entitled to his packages too. They're just going to be a lot bigger than mine.
Kira, why? I'm just so curious. Like, why fabric? Do you have a? I mean, like, why? Why fabric?
Again, random. When I got divorced, I didn't have a whole lot of money to invest in stuff. I bought the stuff that nobody wanted. And one day, it was a bunch of fabric in somebody's backyard. And auctioneers typically never care about fabric. They care about it more since I came along because usually if I'm around they're going to get more for their fabric, so they have started to care about it more. But back when I started, I could pick up boxes of fabric for next to nothing. And I always feel like even today, if you can buy a quantity of something for a fair price, you're going to make money.
Yeah.
I piece it out. I don't sit there and sell it by the box. I'm going to piece it out. It's going to be a fat quarter here, or it's going to be a yard here or a remnant there. And yeah, I was making money off of it. And it was the first thing that I started to keep inventory of. When I started on eBay, eBay was a bid culture back then. Everybody wanted to bid. Nobody wanted to buy it now. They all wanted to compete.
Right.
It's not that way anymore. It's changed. So in the beginning, if it didn't sell after listing it for people to bid like 2 times in a row, I got rid of it. It wasn't until Etsy came along and selling fabric that I started to actually carry inventory. And I started to keep building and building and building. And the more fabric I accumulated, the bigger orders I started to get. I make my big dollars on eBay, but Etsy is what pays me consistently every single
Etsy's a
day.
brilliant spot for something like that, though, because there's just I mean, there's millions of crafters on there. So it's a great
Yes.
marketplace for that, for fabric. I mean,
And I kind of carved my own niche with it because I was selling one vintage and out of print fabric. I mean, I've sold fabric that's well over 100 years old. So I was a resource. The fabric today and fabric yesterday are very, very different creatures. And so I have my own following because of that. I have people that come to my store because they like the idea of recycling. But because I tell the stories about where it comes from, and because I've backed it up with books, and because I've backed it up with doing guest speaking gigs for quilting guilds, and because I back it up with doing podcasts, I have like this big package that I can give. And so in this world of AI, where everybody is letting AI write their description and letting AI tell the people why they should want to buy it, with me, they're getting a real voice and a real
right.
person and somebody on the other side, and something that they can read the book if they want to.
Yeah.
They can. So I've given them something different, and I really think that
I
that's
know what
why
you're
I've
saying,
done
like
so
with
well
the
on Etsy.
AI too, that sometimes they just get too wordy. They're too long,
It's
I'm one
too
of those people that's like,
flowery.
if I'll buy from you, I'm more likely to buy from you if you just bullet list it for me. You know what I mean? I don't have time to read a story. It's like, here's what it is. Da,
Yeah,
da, 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 sold.
right,
But or even if we're just hearing it, like you're hearing it from Kira. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like it's so different. It's like the world of sales is like so different than it was like even when I think about years ago when I was first starting in like banking and stuff like that. Now that you don't even have to be like that person anymore because exactly what you just said, AI is writing that stuff. But back in the
yeah,
day, it was you could actually sit and talk to somebody face to face and they trusted you when you were talking because here you are, you're saying, okay, I believe in this product, I'm
Right.
using it myself, I'm whatever. In your case, I'm imagining that you've got the samples right there in front of you, they can see, you've got the texture, you've got all of it. They may have a project in mind, the Quilters Guild, whatever.
right,
It's not just a, okay, let's go on Amazon and we're going to pick from a list of products and different fabrics there. You may be able to see, you're going to see exactly what it is you have. So there's definitely a big difference between a real person and AI. It's just
right.
you don't get the emotion with AI like you would with somebody sitting there. You obviously know what you're talking about if you're making a business out of this.
Yeah, I mean, it's not for everybody. If somebody wants to get on there on Amazon and buy spark plugs, they're getting on there to buy spark plugs. They don't
Right.
they don't need to know where the spark plugs came from. They don't care. But in the
Right.
crafting community, a lot of people do care, especially when they're repurposing items from somebody else. They like knowing about who had it before them. I had a woman write to me, and this really surprised me because I'm really super careful about smells on fabric. I don't treat everything, but if I detect any kind of smell, I treat it. So apparently one slipped past me, but I sent her a piece of fabric. It was a scrap and it still had the pinking shears cut along the bottom line, and it was an irregular size scrap. But she wrote to me and she said, I can still smell the perfume of the woman who owned this before me. And she says, and it is so special to me. It just made her resonate and somehow like connect with this person who also liked to craft and sew once upon a time, who is no longer here. And then she can get onto the listing that she bought it from and she can read a little bit of a story about who that person was or where it came from. So
That's
yeah,
cool.
some people care.
Yeah. I mean, I know, well, we're like that, Tango. I mean, we care about things like that because we both have old farmhouses, My husband and
Me
I own
too.
an old farmhouse and it's like it's got new old stuff in it.
Mhm.
Like it's new to us, but it's old stuff. I mean, and I care where the stuff comes from. I mean, it's important to me to put something into my home that goes along with the period and the age of my home.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, our
Agreed.
our farmhouse was like kind of mishmashed together from people before us. It was half old and half really terribly done 1950s.
mhm.
And so I was lacking all of that great molding. And I'm the carpenter in the family. I'm the one that does all the trim work and yeah. So when I went to an
Oh
auction,
goodness, can I pay you to come and finish our trim work?
oh gosh, I love playing with wood more than I love playing with fabric. It is, yeah, I love it. So yeah, I went to this auction and it was at a Victorian railroad hotel. It was a huge, gigantic hotel that sat right on the tracks. And travelers used to come in off the train and go in there. So they were selling the salvaging rights because they were tearing it down, and it had fluted molding that was not exactly like our fluted molding, but it was close. And they had all the cast iron hinges, the steeple cast iron hinges that we have. It had all the same Christian doors that we have.
Oh my god,
I
that's
ended up I didn't even know I was gonna do it that day, but I bought the salvage rights to all of the moldings, the doors, all of it. And then I came home and said, "Oh, by the way, honey, guess what we're doing tomorrow?"
we bought part of a railroad.
But I love the idea of putting it in my house. And I used one of the doors in one of the upstairs bedrooms. The old farmhouse, somebody had tried to chop up the attic into usable space, but it just didn't make sense. So that it's done now. But I needed one of those original Christian doors that matched everything else for that back bedroom. And I picked one from that hotel. And it is all dinged up, like from people kicking it open with their foot or hitting
Yeah.
it with their suitcase. It was from a hotel, it just,
Mhm.
and I left it. And what I want to do is put a plaque on the back of the door and say, this came from da 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 da. These dings are, I didn't fix them because
Right.
See,
the,
we had that we did we I agree with Angela, we love that look too, and we had work done on our house, and our house was built 1898, and we had a contractor come in, and he was just spending days sanding down the sheetrock, and we're like, "Dude, okay, there is not a square wall in this house anymore. They've all got little
yeah,
cracks in. They got little places where people over the last 100 years have patched it. This doesn't have to be perfect. It's just gonna be an office space, and we like the charm of, if you stand in our back door and look to the front door, you can see, like, all the door frames, like, they're slightly off all the way through, but, the house is 127 years old, you know what I
right.
mean? What are you gonna do about it, you know what I mean? We enjoy it, but he spent a whole week up there, and now it's been a couple years since he's been done, and it's all cracked, and it's like, we knew that would happen. The house is just too old. It's not gonna, it's not gonna stay in place.
No, I mean, how tall are we going to stand at 100 years old?
Right.
It's all part of the character. I
Falling
love it.
apart at 60 already here.
Right? I know, I'm sitting on the floor right now. I'm trying to figure out if how I'm gonna feel when I stand up because I
Oh,
know it's gonna be a moment.
goodness. Jeez. Uh, so what has been one of your weirdest money makers?
And this is crazy, but in the 20 years I've been doing this, I have sold, my gosh, like 60,000 things roughly. So there's a lot of really weird money makers in there. And I'm constantly trying to think of, okay, well, which one haven't I talked about yet? So I thought of one the other day. that I have not brought up on any of the podcasts yet. So this one's for you. I went to an auction, and it was the auction of a plumber. And out in his garage, he had brand new old stock. There were 2 toilets and there were 3 sinks. The old, of course, the toilets were porcelain. One of the sinks was porcelain, and then the other 2 sinks were porcelain over cast iron. But what made them special was that they were from the late 1950s in a color called Ming, M-I-N-G, green. And
Oh,
Ming green
Oh,
came out before the turquoise came out in the 1960s. So Mint green was out. It was like in the 50s, you had the pink was popular, if you remember. And they had pink toilets and pink sinks and pink
we
towel
all
bars.
forget houses like that.
Yes.
yeah.
So that's like earlier 1950s. In the later 1950s, you came out with this mint green, and it's a desirable color. At least it was then. So I got these 2 brand new toilets and these 3 brand new sinks. Nobody else wanted them. I paid $10 for all of them.
Wow.
And this was probably 15 years ago. This was when I was pretty early in, and this was before I had my shipping guy. I have a shipping guy that will pack the weird stuff for me. Like, I might buy a mannequin. Yeah, that happened. He packed my mannequin. So before that, I was doing it on my own. And one of those toilets I remember went to California, and I was kind of sweating it, how I was going to get that thing packed
Yeah.
safely enough. Like, it's a gigantic box, lots of peanuts, but anyway, they all arrived safely. But each one of those toilets, I think at the time sold for about $650 a piece. And the
Nice.
sinks brought about $400 a piece.
See, that's awesome.
But it just, I mean, like I said, nobody wanted it.
But
And
some
it was
you've also had things though that's like, well, similar to that just shocked you, like something that you grabbed and you're just like, "Yeah, we'll see what happens with it," and then you must have, like, made a fortune off it and been like, "My goodness, I wish I could find 4 more of those."
one time I bought a bag of old denim overalls. Everybody knows old denim is valuable, at least most people do. In the bottom of that bag, I found an old set of dentures. And through my research, I learned that those dentures were women's dentures. And back a long time ago, the dentures weren't for women. That was, the men got the dentures. The women just grinned and bared it. It just wasn't something that most women did. So, yeah, because they were women's, because they were old, those dentures, I think I got, it's been a long time. I want to say I got $145, and they were
That's
a bonus
crazy.
because I did not know they were in there. So, but I learned these things. The granny panties that our mothers wore are worth money. The disposable diapers for adults back in the 80s. If you find a box of those are worth money. But it's things that people commonly throw away. That's the weird stuff. And so you don't come across it really often.
Right.
But to go to an auction and be like, hey, so did you pitch your underwear? Can I go dig? Can I go through the dumpster? I want to see the stuff you threw away.
Can I go play in the dumpster while everybody else auctions?
And can I just have it? Because you did just throw it away, right? So,
No, I get it because we're kinda like in a country area where we're just outside of Cooperstown, New York, and, around us are some neighborhoods they're wealthier neighborhoods, and I remember probably 20, 30 years ago, my brother-in-law would go through these neighborhoods on, like, their dump day, and they would throw out, like, brand new computers and stuff that they just didn't want anymore, and they would just put them up on the road. There'd be furniture and, like,
yeah,
armoires, and you'd be like, "Why are you throwing this away?"
I know. I I can't say that I've ever jumped into a dumpster, but I would. If I knew that there was promise in there, I would. I have not jumped into, but I have reached pretty far into the dumpster at the recycling place because somebody threw away miles and miles and miles of those big air jackets that like Amazon likes to put in boxes that are too big
Oh,
for what they ship you.
Yeah, yeah, yep.
And I am all about recycling packaging materials. So I did dumpster dive a little bit for that. But
packaging's expensive.
mhm,
It adds up. I do the same thing. My other business is a trophy shop, so we get
yeah,
marble in and stuff like that, and it's wrapped in, like, 800 feet of this newspaper print, and I'm always out there, on my table, I'm, like, rolling it up and putting it in a box, and when it gets full, I bring the box home and I use it for shipping my stuff out because it's just expensive to buy all that stuff when people are just throwing it out left and right.
it is expensive. And I used to have deals with like the hardware store or back when I used newspaper for packing, the newspaper company. But I would just always say, hey, save your leftovers for me. And I used to have peanuts galore and bubble wrap and whatnot. I don't
I've
have any current relationships like that, but I have in the past.
I've got my barn here is a 4-stall horse barn, and one stall is just full as high as I could reach with just boxes of packing material. I just
Oh
keep
no.
throwing the boxes in. It's like, I know it's more than I need right now, but you never know when I'm going to need it.
It's like you never throw away that really weird shaped box. You're like, I'm gonna use this
Right.
one day.
Yeah.
I save them all.
You just and it becomes a habit after a while, you know, when you've done it, or like, you've done it for over, what, 20 years?
Yeah.
Same thing here, it becomes a habit, like, you just keep, like, every time a box comes, you grab all the packing stuff and you throw it in a pile, and then you're like, "I don't really need more, but it's here."
No, and when you consider having sold and shipped like 60,000 things, I want to see what the pile of packing material and boxes looks like for all that. And then I just want to see the pile of stuff. I mean,
Right?
60,000 items is, I don't know how that happened. It seemed like a big number to me when I discovered that that was what my number was. I'm like, really? Kind of a lot.
It's a tremendous amount, that's for sure.
So I don't know. It's a lot of fun.
Well, we certainly appreciate you being on the show tonight, you've been a delight, and glad that we got our connection figured out
Yes.
here.
I'm gonna have to take the blame on that. Like you said, we're in the middle of nowhere, but
We had a
That's
w
okay.
That's okay. We had an episode, what was it, last week? I couldn't get our end to stop. So he's like,
Oh, yeah.
"I gotta go, I gotta go to my granddaughter's softball game." I'm like, "Well, it was great talking to you, Stuart. Have a good night. I will figure out how to end the show on this side." I couldn't get the program wouldn't stop. I kept clicking end, and it just kept going.
I'm not tech inclined. I have my setup, but if it malfunctions while my husband's at work, so look, I've been lucky. I haven't really messed up too many of these. So, but
But
yeah,
you know what the fun
clearly.
part is that we're all humans, you know what I mean? And as long as everybody can do it with a smile on their face, you know what I mean? What's it hurting? You know what I mean? We still had fun. We still had a good time, and I'm gonna have to edit this show, and I
No,
apologize. I'm
no,
gonna have to
no,
blur
no,
your
no.
voice out on a couple of the things.
I am fully expecting a new customer out of this. And
Oh, yeah, they're coming. Are you
Do you-
kidding with the
We've got so many books coming in now, and my joke is like, I haven't read a book since high school. Now I've got like 15 of them I've got to read.
Well, even just with the Etsy shop and all the material between me and Steven,
I know.
material
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so you probably get 2 out of this one.
I'm here to tell you I have really great sales. And then they're on all the time. The more you buy, the more you save. Just saying.
Oh, that's great to know. I'm excited. I can't wait to go see your Etsy shop.
I'm gonna
I
peek at it
just
too because
opened it back up.
I'm a sucker for homespun material. That's my favorite, like the old, primitive
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's the
Now,
stuff that
yep, it made a resurgence in the 90s. I have a bunch of that. I do not have any of the original old stuff right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think
Yep.
any of the stuff that I bought was original stuff. It was I forgot what the name of the company was, but they were selling it by the yard, and I just went on there one day. It's like, "Oh my goodness, I love that. Oh my goodness, I love that." And then all of a sudden it showed up, and Steve was like, "Why'd you order the fabric for us?" Because I don't do anything in fabric. And I was like, "Well, I thought maybe you could make something nice out of
Right.
it
I
for
really
the
like it.
house."
It has that primitive vibe,
Well, again, thank you for being here. It's such a delight, and, we hope maybe we'll have you back on again.
Yeah, after
No,
the
I mean,
next book.
anytime my stories are ever evolving, there's always a new one. But I
Well,
appreciate the invite.
yeah, absolutely, and enjoy the rest of your night and get off the floor.
I will try. I might have to call my sons for help again. So,
I've done that. Have a good night.
Thank you,
thanks, you guys
Kira.
too. Bye.
Bye-bye.